It's hard.
We don't know what happens.
There's so many question marks. We don't know.
Khamzat just shoots from like 15 feet away and gets a hold of your
But I
legs
look at
so quick.
This kind of pressure sometimes people doesn't know how to handle it. It's hard to bet against focus Khamzat, healthy Khamzat. I think he can beat anyone on any given day. As talent, as technique, it's Khamzat. If you go to the third and fourth and fifth round, how this fight gonna go? I believe Khamzat can go there. Did to him what he did to Robert Whittaker. 100%, I believe this.
The fight world is buzzing with stories right now. From the UFC's massive $7.7 billion agreement with Paramount, which will officially mark the end of pay-per-view in 2026, to Alexander Volkanovski siding with Dricus Du Plessis over Khamzat Chimaev, the headlines keep coming. Paulo Costa is campaigning for another shot at Israel Adesanya. Charles Oliveira is calling out Dan Hooker, and Arman Sarukian claims Ilia Topuria is steering clear of him. Even John Jones has chimed in on the UFC 319 main event. Here's the latest. Paramount has secured a 7-year partnership with TKO Group, making it the new home for UFC starting in 2026. Valued at $7.7 billion, the deal ensures all UFC events move exclusively to Paramount+. Fans can expect 13 numbered cards and 30 fight nights each year on the streaming service, with select shows also airing on CBS. And the biggest change? Say goodbye to pay-per-view. All you'll need is a Paramount+ subscription to catch the action.
Announced officially this morning that beginning 2026, the UFC is taking its entire package, the whole thing, over to Paramount. Out of nowhere, here comes Paramount, and Paramount Plus to be exact, and CBS as well. Yes, the Tiffany Network. No one saw this.
UFC President Dana White described the agreement as a massive milestone for the sport. He explained that the partnership with Paramount and CBS will not only elevate the UFC's global profile but also give fighters more exposure than ever before. According to him, the new structure positions the UFC alongside the world's biggest sports, making it a huge win for both the athletes and the fans who follow them.
Paramount is the new home of UFC in the United States of America. Starting in 2026, they have acquired the rights for $7.7 billion for 7 years. The best news for fans, the pay-per-view model is dead. All events are part of a regular subscription, including numbered shows. Are they saying now that like UFC 355, all of that will now be available with your standard Paramount subscription?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Which is how WWE...
At the moment, the UFC's broadcast partner is ESPN, with events split between ESPN's television channels and its streaming service, ESPN+. That partnership began back in 2019 but is set to wrap up at the end of this year. The upcoming move to Paramount also represents a major financial leap forward. The new agreement is worth about $1 billion annually, nearly double the estimated $550 million that ESPN has been paying each year. This jump highlights just how much the UFC's value has grown in recent years. Investors clearly took notice too, as TKO's stock price climbed more than 7% in midday trading after the announcement.
DTC called ESPN, "Bring me to the plus." He said this historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. For the first time ever, fans in the US, this is Dana White, will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model, making it more affordable and accessible. It really is staggering to me. Paramount is paying.
Alexander Volkanovski recently backed up Khabib's advice for Khamzat Chimaev, suggesting that against Dricus Du Plessis he should rely more on his boxing instead of leaning too heavily on wrestling. Volkanovski pointed out that while Chimaev's grappling is world-class, it burns a lot of energy, and questions about his cardio in longer fights have already been raised. By mixing in more striking, he believes Chimaev could preserve his gas tank and stay sharp in the later rounds. At the same time, Volkanovski admitted Chimaev's wrestling is dangerous, but he doesn't see Du Plessis as someone who will be easy to wear down.
I think he's just a powerhouse and he's so good at it, he's going to back himself, and that's why he will be dangerous early. Can he get the finish early? Maybe. He could get the finish. I think his best bet is getting that finish early because he will get him down. He might even be able to get him in some chokes. Dricus might be strong enough to get him in positions that he's safe enough to survive and not let,
Du Plessis has already proven he can absorb heavy shots, keep the pressure on, and still find ways to win when the fight turns chaotic. According to Volkanovski, that makes him a very tough matchup and forces Chimaev to approach the fight with more strategy than usual. In his eyes, this clash won't just come down to raw strength or skill. It's going to be about smart game planning. If Chimaev relies solely on a wrestling-heavy approach, he risks burning out and leaving openings for Du Plessis later in the fight. But if he can balance his striking with his grappling, he has a much better chance of controlling the pace from start to finish.
Is Khamzat going to be able to take me down? Absolutely. Absolutely he'll be able to take me down. This is how a fight works. I would hope so. Isn't he like some Swedish champion or something? I would hope he could take me down. But then he has to deal with me on the ground and he has to keep me there. Can I take Khamzat down? Absolutely. Am I going to take Khamzat down? Absolutely. I'm not scared of Khamzat wrestling. I'm not.
When pressed to make a prediction, Volkanovski sided with the underdog. Even though Chimaev is the betting favorite, he picked Du Plessis to retain his belt. He pointed to Du Plessis' toughness, ability to adapt mid-fight, and his tendency to capitalize when opponents start to fade as the deciding factors. Volkanovski admitted it's going to be a thrilling matchup, but he believes Du Plessis can survive the early onslaught, stay calm under pressure, and take over if the fight goes into the later rounds.
So DDP said, Khamzat has a gun and I have a tank when it comes to strength. Last time I checked, Khamzat ragdolled, dismantled, and broke the jaw of the same man who took you down and controlled you in the very first round of your fight. But yeah, bro, you're the tank, whatever helps you sleep at night.
During UFC 318 fight week, Paulo Costa reignited his rivalry with Israel Adesanya, making it clear he still wants a rematch. Costa admitted that the outcome of their first fight doesn't matter to him. What matters is settling unfinished business. He emphasized that the tension between them hasn't faded over the years and that he's determined to face Adesanya again, not just to compete, but to try and make a statement.
Adesanya, stop sending some friendly message to me. I don't want to be your friend. I want to kill you. I want to kill you.
Adesanya hasn't ruled out a second fight with Costa, but he made the terms clear. Costa has to get past Roman Kopylov first. On his Freestyle Bender channel, Adesanya said directly, "If you win this fight, then we can run it back." He also offered some advice, urging Costa to stay disciplined, stick to his game plan, and not get carried away by the crowd or the pressure to entertain. For Costa, though, the rematch is about more than just competition. He's never let go of how their first meeting ended, both in the cage and with Adesanya's controversial post-fight celebration at UFC 253. Back then, Costa called him human trash and demanded an immediate rematch. While his public tone is calmer now, his determination to settle the score hasn't gone anywhere.
I come here to talk about the action that human trash did. The human trash did after a fight. I didn't see when I was there on the cage, but I saw now. I disapprove 100%. And to me, this is mortal now. Nobody will stop me. Nobody can stop me.
If that rematch comes together, it would be one of the easiest fights for the UFC to sell. Both Costa and Adesanya have massive fan followings, clashing styles, and a personal history that guarantees drama. Costa brings relentless, heavy-handed pressure, while Adesanya is known for his precise, calculated striking. That contrast, combined with their rivalry, makes for a storyline fans would instantly buy into. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan hasn't held back when it comes to praising Khamzat Chimaev. He's consistently described Chimaev as one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC, especially in the middleweight division. Rogan has talked about his skill set as overwhelming, the kind of style that wears down opponents not just physically but mentally as well. High praise that adds even more intrigue to Chimaev's ongoing back and forth with Dricus Du Plessis.
We've seen him being as exhausted as anybody can be in a third round. This is a 5-rounder. Bring your first round. I am going to meet you in the middle and we are going to wrestle. We can wrestle that first round, the whole first round. And then we come out in that second round and we'll see what we feel like. And we can wrestle you have around a minute left in that second round. And then we're going to fight my fight. Then we're going to wrestle on my terms. And then we're going to strike on my terms.
If Rogan's breakdown holds true, Du Plessis could find himself in serious trouble. Rogan has often pointed out that Chimaev doesn't just beat opponents, he overwhelms them. From the very first exchange, his pressure can be suffocating. With his relentless wrestling, raw strength, and knack for seizing submissions when the opening is there. Rogan argues that Chimaev gives opponents almost no time to settle in or build momentum. Against someone with that kind of grinding style, Rogan's logic suggests Du Plessis may be forced to spend more energy defending than actually executing his own strategy.
I think you guys can expect me to get my hand raised, and that's about it.
That'll be 8 wins in a row, and then you can sit back and watch the title fight play out between DDP and Khamzat Chimaev. Who do you think wins that fight, by the way?
I think DDP is going to surprise the world, man. He's a big motherfucker. He's fucking awkward. He comes forward. He doesn't get tired. Khamzat gets tired with small guys that were 155ers, you know what I mean, that went up to 170.
Rogan has also spoken about the psychological effect Chimaev has on his opponents before the fight even begins. In his view, some fighters walk into the cage already shaken, simply from knowing the relentless storm that's coming their way. Applied to this rivalry, Rogan would likely see Du Plessis' trash talk as more about projecting confidence than truly shifting the dynamic, since Chimaev's pressure-heavy style is designed to break opponents over time. Even when addressing Chimaev's occasional struggles, Rogan has framed them as results of outside issues like difficult weight cuts or short-notice scheduling, rather than weaknesses in his skill set. To him, if Chimaev enters the fight healthy and dialed in, the reality for any opponent, no matter how durable, is having to survive an exhausting, nightmare pace.
Did you see what Dan Hooker said about Charles Oliveira? I couldn't believe it. Dan said of Charles Oliveira, someone wake up Charlie Olives and tell him we fighting in November. Now, do I think that Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira would be a great fight? Yes. Do I think that Dan Hooker would win this fight? No, probably not. The next fight for Charles Oliveira should 100.
When it comes to Du Plessis, Rogan has summed up his respect in simple terms. The South African has heart. But in a matchup with Chimaev, Rogan suggests that grit alone may not be enough to get the job done. Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira didn't hold back ahead of his comeback at UFC Fight Night 261 in Brazil. In an interview, he revealed that while plenty of opponents were mentioned, almost none were willing to actually sign the contract, with Rafael Fiziev being one of the few who showed real interest. Oliveira criticized fighters who, as he put it, talk tough from a distance but go quiet once the fight is offered. One name he pointed to directly was Dan Hooker.
Yeah, I just think the lightweight division has gone really weak in recent years. Considering a few years ago, it was by far the best division in my opinion.
It's because most of these guys are aging. You got Charles is aging, Dustin, Gaethje, Hooker, Chandler, like those Poirier too. Yeah, they're all aging.
Yeah, everyone's just got old.
And the new blood ain't like exactly making big statements.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the division and you don't see anyone that you think, well, I think he's going to be a megastar. I think he's going to be the next big.
Oliveira described the situation as a soap opera that's dragged on for years. He said Hooker is someone who talks endlessly online, but never actually steps up when the fight is offered. Oliveira stressed that he's done with all the empty back and forth and wants less talk, more action. For him, it's simple. Stop making noise on the internet and start signing contracts.
Dan Hooker versus Charles Oliveira, bro. Like, you know that fight's gonna be crazy. Like, because Charles is dangerous everywhere. Charles can got knockout power, he got submission power, and he can wrestle now and just stay on top and and Dan's a dog. Dan will just eat whatever and keep going forward and keep just landing strikes. And
I mean, Dan knows what to do. Dan's already fought Mateus Gamrot. Was supposed.
Dan Hooker didn't stay quiet. Just a few days ago, he jumped on X and wrote, "Somebody wake up Charlie Olives and tell him we're fighting in November." He even added that if Oliveira wasn't available, he'd happily take on Arman Sarukian instead. It's not the first time Hooker and Oliveira have gone back and forth, but this latest exchange feels closer to an actual fight materializing. Hooker has made it clear he wants to settle things before the year is over, and Oliveira seems just as open, as long as the offer is legitimate.
Who's your top MMA fighters of all time?
John Jones, of course.
Okay.
John Jones is actually mine.
Nobody is like him. Nobody. He beats a lot of guys, he beats the monsters. I did work all my training, and we did with Alex. I know how good he did. And if John Jones could stop that guy, it's scary.
Whether or not the UFC actually books this matchup remains to be seen, but the intensity is real. Oliveira is demanding opponents who will commit, while Hooker is publicly insisting he's ready. If both men keep pushing, November could finally set the stage for their long-anticipated clash. Meanwhile, in the lead-up to UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev spoke about John Jones, calling him the most intimidating fighter in MMA history. He praised the heavyweight champion's decade-long dominance and highlighted victories over legends like Daniel Cormier and Alexander Gustafsson as proof of Jones' unmatched skill set and fight IQ.